Hey, this is Tracy Lewis with Stuff and Things with episode 26 of Winter is Coming Wednesday. It's a little blustery today, so you may hear some wind and trees. I promised that I would be revisiting Santa Express. Last week we did a 10-card gift set with the craft note cards, and they used the patterned side of Santa Express, and this week I'm sharing some projects that I made using the scene side of the Santa Express DSP. So this was all about fussy cutting. I am not the best fussy cutter, but I did muddle through and have created some fun scene cards. The inspiration card, I will see if I can find it. It's a pin, and it used actually the Memories and More pack, which Libby and I didn't have, so we had to go into the DSP and find the bits and pieces we wanted to use. One of them I used these panels, which I had a couple of sheets of. They're the backs of the stars, so that would mean I have quite a few scenes. And then the other one used one of the shaded spruce side DSP patterns. So these cards are pretty much made almost entirely using the Santa Express. So you can see here where I cut a tree. I cut a bigger tree. Here's yet another tree. I also used presents on each one, and I cut out, I cut out the pole sign, which I think was very strategic that they just left stars on it. A very generic sign. So these cards are finished, so I'm just going to walk you through what I did with them. So this was the one that I did first, and it mimics, like I said, the Memory and More paper pack that comes as a separate add-on, and I had to create this snowy background. I took basic white and hand cut a rolling hill and a couple of mountains. My initial fussy cut wasn't as detailed, and that was the one critique. Libby and I, when we craft together, we kind of poke through what we're doing. I had not fussy cut this tree very detailed. I had left the peach showing. This is petal pink, and I went back in and fussy cut out the leaves more individually, and then I took a evening evergreen marvelous marker. What I have found is that the blends will tend to bleed. They like to soak into the paper, where this dye ink tends to dry really fast and it sits right on the edge. So I recommend, if you're using it for edging cutouts, which is something I do all the time, and I generally do use blends, but that I use on the basic white. And let's say I've stamped, I've colored, and I've die cut, and there's an edge around it, and I don't want there to be an edge. I will use a colored marker, maybe black, or maybe a color that coordinates or like a blends. The two favorite ones for me are light blue or balmy blue, and the smoky slate. So in this case, everywhere there's dark green, I have taken the fine tip end of the marker, and I've just gone in, like here I can see that I didn't do this, and I'm just going to touch it right along the edge, not going to the lower layer, and I want to darken up any of the white that I see that I don't like. So I just touched up just a couple of pieces there. I went ahead and added dimensionals on there's two layers. So there's the snow hill mountain layer, and then the big tree is not popped up. This smaller tree is popped up. And then above that is double layer of pop-up is the presents and the pole. I added the opal drops and the organdy iridescent ribbon. I did put in, this is soft succulent, a white, so it's 1, 2, it's actually triple matted. So this is a fairly weighty card. I will have to weigh it before I send it out to make sure it is under the 1 ounce to be able to just pay the non-machinable less than an ounce price. The second card uses a scene. The scene was a slender scene, so I went ahead and let it be offset in the center with more at the bottom. I weighted it on the bottom like you do with a piece of artwork. I cut out trees, the pole, and presents. This back present here is actually part of the scene, so that's how I aligned this cluster of presents above it. And the sentiment, I should go back to the sentiment. The Let It Snow, I went ahead and masked off the Let It Snow and added more soft succulent, the Per Libby's suggestion to have it pop more. And this is from Joyful Flurry. And Happy Holidays, I believe there's a Happy Holidays and a Season's Greeting in the same font. I'm looking right now here to see which one it came from. Oh, here. So there's Happy Christmas in Joyful Flurry and Happy Holidays using the same font here, spaced out a little bit more in Brightest Glow. So I used the Happy Holidays and I just did an angle cut. And then this little cluster at the bottom left corner is made with, I don't know the name of this trim. This trim is from the holiday catalog, and so let me get it out here. And I will have all the supplies on my supply list, of course. This is soft seafoam, and it is just called Seam Binding Ribbon. And I had that originally, and then the snowflakes are a carryover from last year. They are called Wonderful Snowflakes, which another tip, keep. There's a lot of extra wonderful iridescent shiny material. I keep all of the cutouts. After I cut them out, I trim them down and keep them in the back for doing punch outs or die cuts. So these carried over. And then I did add some different threads and baker's twine wrapped in iridescent. Those, the green and the white, they're not Stampin' Up products, because two of my absolute favorite products that Stampin' Up used to carry were thread and metal edged baker's twine. I then used the iridescent pearl dots to finish this up, and it has been embossed with the wintry 3D snowflake embossing folder. So that's all I've got this week. 2 fun projects. These actually were a fun weekend crafting day event, and you know, doing this takes time, but it's really fun to personalize them and really get lots of fun layers. I should say that the snowflake effect on this is embossing, white, as well as gel pen, and then going with chalk paint to get the faint, more distance looking snowflakes is using white, craft white. So that's 3 different effects. And then I did mask off this hill to keep some of the petal pink to give it more depth. I think that's all I see. Again, the full supplies list will be on my blog. The supplies for these iridescent, the threads, won't be on there. The threads come from Hobby Lobby. Actually, all the threads come from Hobby Lobby, and they go on sale. The crochet trim 1 week and the threads another week, and sometimes they have a bigger discount than others. I believe this week the threads are all 99 cents. So it just varies. You just have to look each week and see what's on sale. Everything else will be on my supplies list. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and thanks for watching.